next 20 years.
But it makes a lot of assumptions about how that'll be funded down the road. But there's a you first, no you first attitude here in Washington. I know from my own reporting that the feeling in the administration is, look, let's let the Republicans go forward and produce all of these savings for the entitlements. Let them do it first. And then we get into a political season, and then they can be demagogued on that, and the way you guys feel you were on health care.
Well, but the president doesn't feel that way. The president's had conversations with Speaker Boehner, Leader Cantor, Congresswoman Pelosi, McConnell and Reid, Senators McConnell and Reid, and he is not going to play the Washington games. We've had enough in the last 2 years. I think the American people are sick and tired of it. They're tired of the partisanship. And if anyone thinks that out of this last election, the American people were voting for more partisanship, more saying no, I think they're going to have a rude awakening in the next election.
As you know, financial reform was much debated here in Washington, and when you were J.P. Morgan Chase, was a significant concern in Wall Street and in the financial community. And so this caught our attention during the Oscars. The director, Charles Ferguson, of Inside Job, which was the documentary about the financial collapse, in accepting his Oscar, said the following.
Forgive me, I must start by pointing out that 3 years after a horrific financial crisis caused by massive fraud, not a single financial executive has gone to jail, and that's wrong.
Does the president agree that that's wrong?
I think no one has been more out front on the need for financial reform. Obviously, the justice system will take its place, and the politicians should not engage in trying to say who should be prosecuted or who should not. That's not a responsible thing to do. So you have a number of justice attorney generals moving forward on cases that are legitimate, but the president felt very strongly, and that's why he fought so hard for financial regulatory reform, that the system has got to change. Most of the laws that the financial sector worked under were enacted closer to the Civil War than to this century. And he fought. It was tough, to be honest with you. I was in an industry that at the time, as you mentioned, that fought many of it, not all of it, probably 85% of it, the industry wanted. They wanted to stop too big to fail and a number of other things. But it was controversial, difficult, but he hung in there and he got what he wanted. And
do you think it's illegitimate?
Great statement of leadership.
Is it illegitimate for people to say that some of those CEOs on Wall Street should have gone to jail?
Well, I don't know if it's illegitimate or not. People have a right to say what they want. But I think if you're an elected official, you should allow the justice system take over and move forward. And when there are prosecutions, that's up to that system. Politicians should not get involved. Producers, directors can do that, but politicians shouldn't get involved in that.
A couple of minutes left. I do want to ask you about politics and the re-election campaign for 2012. You'll be Chief of Staff presiding over that campaign. Is the president moving to the center to win re-election?
No, the president doesn't look at, this is a guy who does not look at politics and left, center, whatever. He really doesn't. He looks at things, deals with the problem right in front of him, and I've never participated in, even back when I was co-chair of his campaign in 2008, discussions that were around that. There's no question the difficulties of the first 2 years, he had to take actions that he didn't want to do. As he said, he didn't want to run an auto company. That was the last thing in the world he thought he was being elected for president to do. But he had to do it to save 1 million jobs. And that was criticized by many people in the business community. Many people said, oh my God, this is socialism, whatever. He saved those jobs. General Motors last month had one of its strongest months in decades of profitability, and that showed the wisdom of that decision.
Do you still believe, you said last year that there was this administration got it a little bit wrong, that the country was center-left, not left. Do you still believe it's a center-left country?
I think what I was commenting on was the election of 2008, and I think it showed that there was a center-left. But this president doesn't think that way. Some of us who pontificate on politics at times may talk that way, but he really doesn't. And I think when you look at the actions he took over the last 2 years, they've been center. They've been, at times, people can interpret them however they want, but the fact is they've been focused on trying to create an economy that's stronger, trying to win the future as we get in this, as recovery comes back. And our competition, as the president has said, is not amongst ourselves, it's amongst the rest of the world.
Are you concerned with Ambassador Huntsman making moves toward running for president? Have you given him a talking to as a member of the administration and courting the presidency?
Well, I think there's been a lot of speculation about him. He's said he's going to resign at the end of April. but he's done an excellent job on behalf of the Obama administration, and we think he.
Are you upset that he's still there talking about the presidency?
I have not heard or seen any direct quotes from Ambassador Huntsman, which obviously would be inappropriate. But his support of the Obama administration, his support of the president, the things he did on behalf of this administration, and the closeness in which he worked with the president is most appreciated. And I'm sure he'll talk about that in the primaries.
If you run. Finally, is Mitt Romney the most formidable Republican?
I don't know. You know, this is the president. Also, what I admire about him is he doesn't spend a lot of time talking about this stuff.
Yeah.
You know, everyone
he did talk about Mitt Romney this week, though, rather pointedly.
He did talk about Mitt Romney, but the fact is, you know, we've got enough issues to deal with and not worry about who's going to be the Republican nominee. There will be a nominee at some point, and we'll deal with it next year. The concern right now is our economy, creating jobs, giving confidence to the American people that this recovery is real, and doing the things that fortify their belief, which is the truth, that this is the greatest country in the world, and the opportunities in this country going forward are there for them.
Where do you think unemployment has to be for him to be reelected?
I don't, you know, there's so many factors involved. Obviously, we're very pleased that the trend seems to be moving forward, not because of a reelection, because you're giving opportunities for families to have jobs and people of the future and a hope. That's what it's about. I know that we could be pretty cynical in this town, but normal people out there in America, the last thing in the world they're thinking about right now is 2012.
All right. We will leave it there, Mr. Daly. Thank you very much.
David.